Welcome back to the Road to Ruins, the Infinite Frequency. In today's episode that we're putting out, we're going to put them both out together, for episode 1 and part 2. And it is about the silent retreat that I did. And today is going to be your first episode with both myself and my co-host Gisele. And we go into the retreat in detail. I did the editing the best I could. I've missed a couple of bits out towards the end of the second part, but you get the overall message, and it is a really good listen. So sit back, get comfortable, buckle up, and let's get this show on the road.
Introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there. So over to you, Gisele.
Thank you so much, L.E.O. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today. And what an honor it is to be joining you on this journey. My name is Gisele. I am grateful to be in this space at the moment, in recovery with as well as L.E.O. And very, very happy to be here. I'm 50 years old. I live in the United States in the great state of California. And I have 4 adult children, 8 grandchildren, and I am ready to start this journey with you guys and with L.E.O. And I know that it's just going to be great.
Yeah, and that's so welcome. First of all, absolutely welcome, and thank you for coming into the studio today. And just I'm really excited and thrilled about what the future holds. As I've been talking to you, Gisele, so, I don't quite know what exactly is going to happen going forward. And I'm no longer going to say to you, this is coming or that's coming, unless we know for sure. But it's a good space to be in, and I'm excited. So, what I'll do, so before we begin, I'm going to tell you, what the podcast really is now. Because it's not about recovery anymore. Recovery was a battle, was the battle to survive, to get to where we are. So this is the journey to awaken. So obviously I consult the cards and before changing and looking at the direction, I drew the Fools, before recording. And that was no mistake, because it's not random. That's calling. The Fool steps into the unknown with no map but trust. And that's me right now. That's this space that we're able to be in. And it's trusting that process. I also pulled the Tower, which the Moon, the Ace of Swords. And that meant I saw what had to go. I saw what was hidden. And I found the blade of truth in the stillness. And we'll get to that. This is a discovery phase. The silence before the voice, the emptiness before the creation. In this episode, I'll share what I found in 7 days of near total silence. The breaking, the visions, the rebirth. Not because I want you to copy me, but because I want you to remember what you already know. The silence holds truth, and the journey begins where you dare to enter it. Yeah, pause there for a second.
I have a question for you. Whenever you're ready is fine.
Wicked. So now into what we are calling Longship into the Silence. And in this episode, we are going to go through my 7-day retreat internally into silence. So first of all, my name is L.E.O, as you know, co-host Gisele here, and this is the Longship into the Silence. So now I'll be honest, I didn't get it when I say I went into the. So I went into a silence for 7 days. So the idea behind it was so I set out to vanish, but not talking, no texting, no noise, just me, so that I could breathe and be part. And then I had my runes and I had the guidance of Odin through my 7 days of silence. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't get it 100% perfectly right. I did have access to my phone. I checked in with a couple of people during, and this is because I didn't quite know what to expect, and I had to be a bit careful and cautious. And then I also stayed connected to my guide, which is ChatGPT. Again, because I didn't quite know what to expect. So despite that, I had 6.5 days of full silence and reflection. And I went through like every emotional and spiritual stage I'm about to describe. So before I begin, I'm going to quickly explain something for those who might not know. So part of my toolkit is tarot cards, and tarot cards are a spiritual tool. It's an ancient deck of symbolic images, and it's used to reflect the journey of the soul. Each card holds its own meaning and message. I don't use them for fortune telling or anything like that. I use them as mirrors to draw out what was already within me. So it's kind of helping me ask myself questions and finding the answer through the cards. And then there's runes, and now these are even older. They're an ancient Norse symbols, and it's part of the Elder used by Vikings, seers, and mystics. Each rune is like a key to a spiritual concept. So you've got stillness, growth, chaos, clarity. Odin himself, in the old myths, he discovered the runes after hanging from the world tree for 9 nights. They're not just symbols, they are wisdom. The last time I attempted silence, I went into it for 2 days. But then I had full access to my phone, devices, everything else. I wasn't in full retreat. But even then, those 2 days, it was there that I first heard the power of silence. It was there that those 2 days planted the seed that would later grow into a deeper experience, which is this. This retreat wasn't just about stillness. It was about transformation. You see, I've moved beyond what I call recovery. I am now in the discovery stage. And that's the next stage of my journey, not just letting go of the past, but actively exploring the truth, spirit, and purpose that lie ahead. There's a shift in my message too, and that's from one of surviving addiction to one of discovering the warrior within. I'll explain that transformation more as I go through my program, but it all began here in the silence. So this episode is a journey, a breakdown of that silent retreat. I take you through each day, the emotions, the breakthroughs, what the toolkit offered me, the runes, the tarot cards, how they guided me, and what I discovered within the stillness. So this isn't going to be just a recap. It's a map. It's a map for those of you thinking about going into silence or just needing to reset your spirit. This might be exactly what you're looking for. So I'm going to go into day one. Is there anything you wanted to ask about the little intro there at all, Gisele?
No, I think it was perfect.
Excellent. Okay, well then we're going to go into day one. So I'm going to reflect each day literally as I went into it, and The arrival into day one, I actually entered into it at 1:00 on a Thursday evening, technically Friday morning. The silence at first, it hits you like a wall, and this happened really quickly. It was only, from memory now, like it was like only an hour, maybe a bit more into it. All of a sudden, it just, like, my body was still, but my mind was screaming, and it just, it become very disturbing. Like the initial shock of silence, it did something to my mind, and it showed me the amount of noise, and not just noise that we hear with our ears, but it showed me the noise that is out there. And the only way I can explain it now is because it was the way it felt once I realised going through this journey, was it's the frequencies that interfere with our own, or my own spiritualness, my own internal frequency. And when you switch off that noise, it's like the soul, the spirit, the body, the mind, it's all adapted to still function as best as it can, whilst you're being distracted, or programmed, or however you wish to look at it, from the outside noises and the outside world. And that's the thing, the shock, I guess, for my body was that I was indoors, and all of a sudden it should still be able to hear all of those things, and I'd taken it away. And it started to make me very restless. I just wanted to, it was like I needed to do something. I needed to move. And it was, even now I could feel it. It was very irritable, very, just on edge. And it was tiring. And then the problem you get is, you see the TV, you look at the phone, you think, oh, I could just quickly let out, and your mind is playing all these tricks on you. Oh, what if something's happening? Oh, you need to know this. Or, what are you doing? This is silly. What are you going to learn from this experience? And the thoughts became so intrusive on this first day, and it was just adamant. It did not want me to complete this first day. It was clear, and I'm going to be truly honest now. What got me through this day one, ironically, was when I expressed to some of my, some people that I know that I was doing this, one of the guys was, oh, I'm going to take a bet. And for me, I love him to pieces for that, because although it stung when he said it, in that moment, it was that doubt, that tiny, I couldn't give in. Now, thankfully, I'm stubborn, so it helped me push through, but as the day went on, it got harder and harder, and the silence got louder and louder, and there's a noise within silence that it echoed through my whole soul, my whole being. And it was a very difficult feeling to get used to. And like I say, it was the negative comments that absolutely fueled me to go deeper and to keep pushing. And the more those intrusive thoughts came in, I was like, yeah, but I'm not giving in. I'm going to keep going. And at this point, I have to be honest, all of the words of encouragement I got going into it, at this point, there was no sign of that being any help. I wasn't, it was just, the encouragement was like echoes that I couldn't quite catch. And instead, just as I went to catch the echoes of encouragement, I'd end up grabbing a negative, and then it would be two negatives. But for me, I had to keep going, no matter what. So on this day, I also I drew a rune which is Isa. Now that resembles stillness. Then the tarot I drew was the Hermit, and the pair of them both told me the same thing: be still and go inwards. So before my day began, I already had this information from my toolkit. You know, it had told me that I was going to have to go in there. I had to be still. And that's something I realised towards the end of the day, as I think what was becoming more apparent is that as I slowed down and started to, or stopped resisting, and again and take part in something that had become a big part of my life in this journey, and that was surrender to the situation. And by the end of the day, I was in a position where I was sitting on my bed. I had my dog with her head on my lap, and I was able to just, in that moment, be still. And after a while, the noise is still there, but it's like my body felt like something was happening. At this point, I wasn't quite sure what, but I managed to get through the day. I did spend most of the day fighting the urge to do something, but like I just said, the key was surrender. Not quitting, not giving up. That's the difference. You know, we surrender. When I recovered, I had to surrender. You know, and at this point, going into the stillness, the only way to, because I was trying to fight with every bone, with every urge, by moving weight, I was trying to fight the silence without knowing. And then as I surrendered and I sat down and I started to work on my breathing, it didn't get less intrusive, but it became more manageable, and I felt like I was reaching a point towards the end of the day where I was comfortable. So then off to bed I go. And as always, upon awakening, I do my morning rituals. I do my prayers, my meditating, and then I pulled the cards and the runes to go. Now, on day 2, I got the Anzus Divine Communication Rune. The tarot was the 4 of Swords. And so it was about, I had to lean into the silence and I had to listen. It told me, you know, there was going to be divine communication, and I had to sit there. And not to the world, I had to listen to the voice within me. So having seen that in the cards as a message, I knew that, you know, the thoughts, intrusiveness I was having yesterday, by all accounts, it was a possibility. I didn't know that it was going to get more intense. I was comfortable in the silence at this point, as in, when I say comfortable, I was able, I acknowledged the noise was there, and I just was still trying to resist fighting it at any point. And then the only way I can say that I managed to keep staying away from the intrusive thoughts and fighting the urge to put noise on, breathing become my anchor. And I've been practicing breathing techniques now for the last 6 months to a year, I'd say. And they became very powerful for me. Now, at first it was more out of panic, and I had to slow my breathing down, and it was just a case of breathing in, and I'd hold it and then let it out. And in doing so, what I was doing is I'm imagining breathing in the stillness and exhaling my energy. I wanted to breathe in stillness and exhale the excess energy, so that I could sit there and listen and absorb and really hear my inner voice. So all of a sudden, at some point through the morning, I did hit a a calmness. There was like this moment, I don't know exactly how long, where fell into this really peaceful, tranquil place. And then all of a sudden that was gone. It was fleeting. And what was happening was the thoughts were just coming very intrusive, but it was everything I dealt with previously, so I couldn't quite see why. And then as I started, the only way I could explain it is in that silence I was able to pull some of these previous things down and see that there were still roots attached to something else. And I was able to see, I'm closing my eyes now and I can still see it was such a visionary, exploratory place that I found myself in. And for the first time ever, whilst I was thinking about everything, both what I've had done to me, what I've done, all of it, all of the life, it was for the first time like I was watching as who I am now, and I was looking back at me as a young boy. And I could feel, I'm getting goosebumps, a little bit teary, but I could feel his pain, but it was his pain. And I'd let go of it. And in that, somewhere within that day, fighting all of the thoughts, fighting the tears back, because it was hard, it was emotional, that boy let go of his pain. And that the thoughts are still coming. So by this point now, what you're getting, or what I was getting, was, right, get out. You don't want to be here. This is, you've learned what you need to. Just stop now. You need noise. And the closer I got to bed, I think they started subsiding. I can't remember if it was before or after. So I also tried to meditate one before actually going to sleep. And my nighttime meditation isn't quite the same as the rest of them. It is a very short one. I sit there and, but yeah, so then I went off into, sleep for coming into day 3. So basically, yeah, what I learned was, like I say, that day 1 was very difficult, just getting used to the stillness, to the silence. Day 2 was the intrusive thoughts, but where some real true revelations were found, and I can't necessarily explain it in good enough, and I hope I have. So I think what I'd like to do, Gisele, is bring you in there, and just see if you've got any questions or if there's anything you'd, like to know.
Well, first of all, I want to say how amazing I think this journey. I couldn't even imagine. I haven't even thought about a long period of silence until recently, when I started to hear people talking about going into a 3-month pause or 6-month pause from certain things, and then you come out with the 7-day silence, and I'm like, what? I've got to know more about that. So some of the things that I took away from what you said, that the silence hits you like a wall. Wow. I can't imagine what that must have felt that like when you first felt that. And I would imagine that, it would kind of be the same for me. Like it would be overwhelming at first, right? And then you said there was a noise within the silence that echoed loudly. Oh my gosh. I could hear that. I felt that. I felt it deep inside. And then that breathing became your anchor. Ooh, I could see that, because I could see breathing in whatever it is that I want to feel in the moment, and breathing out anything that doesn't belong,
Yes.
and releasing myself of it.
Yeah, it's such an important part of my spiritual journey is that breathing. And I've been blessed. I'm not sure where it was in the world I learned it. I know there was some short time spent with my mum lives in the south of France, so there's a garden up in down on the seafront, and as you go up into what they call the secret gardens, there was often monks up there training and meditating, and it was them that first taught me about, they're talking about breathing in the positivity, and like you just said, letting out any of the negative, anything that doesn't belong there. And it's a shame because back then I was too naive and young to take it seriously, and what an opportunity I had to really learn. And I took something away, but how much more wonderful could it have been? But we don't regret the past, you know.
Absolutely. I do have a couple questions for you. So the
Yes.
first one that came to mind for me was, how long have you been consulting the cards and runes?
Oh, that's a good question. So, off and on, 2 years, I would say. And the only reason for the gap in that has been the stints of in and out of homelessness, like getting evicted and on the street. So, like, because the thing is, for me, my cards are absolutely sacred. All of my toolkit is, and as it should be. And the last thing I want to do is, you know, lose them so, yeah, it's about 2 years I've been using them. It's only in the last 3 months, I'd say, that I've really started using them every day, and they've become just a real good guide. Like I said, it's not fortune telling. I'm not saying, am I going to win the lottery? Am I going to be famous? None of that. It's not about that. It's about, is my heart in the right place? Is my emotional state ready for this? Is there anything I need to look out for? Now, once you learn to read the cards and work with them, you can, like we did earlier, we had a conversation and then I can pull the cards and they will answer without even answering the question, as long as your heart is pure. Yeah, so I hope that answers.
It does, and I can feel that a little bit, because I felt like there were some questions in my mind that I did not express the last time. Well, at least one of the times that you consulted cards, and the cards answered the question, and I'm like, whoa, that was wild. So I love that. And then my second question for you today is, what's your number one recommendation on how someone should prepare for such a journey? Like, now that you've been on it, right? You've been there, you've done that, and you know that there's got to be some kind of preparation work that happens beforehand, right? So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. So one of the first things I think is really important for me to say is that upon coming out of it, I have my biological mum and my stepmum, and I love the pair of them to pieces. And I was speaking to my stepmum, and one of the things I hadn't thought about before going into it, I have, because of the past, because of the history, because of the mental health conditions, I didn't think about it, but there was a risk of, if I had completely cut myself off from everything and everyone, if I fell into a bad state of energy, then I wouldn't have been able to come out of it. So, but as I explained to her, I'd already put the anchors out. So she thought I was doing a whole full 7 days, completely nothing. And I didn't know, bless her, she was worried. So I apologise to my stepmom for that. If you're listening, I'm sorry. But so the first thing I will say is, you have to, because I didn't, that was something I did not consider, and that could have been a pitfall. But at the same time, I do want to say that this started from the 2 days that I did, where I just tried to be silent. That's all I did. I just decided I wasn't going to talk for 2 days, which is very hard. And it was like I say, in that, I would not recommend anybody go straight into a long silence. I would even go as far as saying, I would have done the 2 day last time. I would have done a 3 day full silence this time, and then moved to a 7. Because I think it has to be a gradual thing, because the shock to my system between going into it and when we get to day 7, the snap back to reality, because I didn't follow the correct guidance. I will go into depth about that, because it rocked me, and that, we'll cover all of that in detail when we get to day 7. But yeah, so I would say you have to be mentally prepared. You have to be emotionally ready. Now, how do you know if you're emotionally ready? How do you know if you're mentally ready? That's why I've got my toolkit. I speak to my higher power. I speak to the spirits. I speak to whatever you want to call it. And if I offend people because they don't like that, I apologize. And, to some, I may sound crazy. And here's the thing. I'm talking to all of you people that are listening and that can hear me. And you know who you are. So, if you're here or listening to our show, you're already one of us. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say from a New Yorker's perspective, don't be sorry. You ain't got nothing to be sorry about. You have nothing to be sorry about whatsoever, because, the reality is that when we come into recovery, we're taught that we should find a higher power, and that higher power is of our own understanding.
Absolutely.
It certainly can be a higher power that exists in the world today. It can be something that's completely made up. I believe that the spiritual experience leads us to something more solid as we walk through our journey, right? So the fact that you are using something that is meaningful to you, that's historical for you, that it culturally speaks to you, I think is beautiful. So you don't have to be sorry for that.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Gisele. And this is why she's my co-host.
Hey. Okay, do you want to pause for a second?
Yeah, go on, yeah. Maybe there's not enough for 3 shows, maybe just 2, but we'll see.
Maybe. You never know. Let's see what happens. All right. It's all yours.
So we're going into day 3, right? All right. So, there we are. So what we're going to talk about now is day 3. And I'll end up clumping, that sounds terrible. I'll end up putting day 3 through to day 5, but that will become apparent afterwards, because in this middle phase of this journey, it's hitting me even now. There's just absolutely, I hope that I can do justice to what came. So, first of all, here comes day 3, which is the mirror phase. Now, when I spoke about the dealing with the child within me on day 2, although that was such a revolutionary phase, and it was, I'm glad I went through it. I didn't expect what came after, because now I was dealing with my regrets, with my memories. I saw myself raw, unfiltered, unapologetic. I'll use the term ugly. The emotions that come up in me for seeing who that person was, who I was before, the carnage that I've caused throughout my life. And remember, at this phase, I'm not guiding where my thoughts are going. I'm being guided internally. And I feel, if I'm honest, it's the first time I truly saw the destruction from, victim side, from my past victims, of which there were lots, and it was a very difficult place to be, because depending what phase of my life it was, would depend how hard the thoughts were, and it did surprise me, and I thought I'd moved past the regret stage, and it's not. I hadn't moved past it at all. It was. This was. I truly see it now. This was the closing of all of that chapter, and me fully accepting and owning that was me, that I did all of that, and that person is no longer here. The power in this retreat is it took away my ability to run from myself. It took away the ability to distract myself. It meant, because I'd surrendered by this point, I had to face everything. And one of the biggest surprises was, despite all the emotions were flowing through me, they was all doing so with an ease. I don't know how else to express it. Like, it would come, it would wash over me, but I knew it would be temporary because I was trusting the process. I knew I had to go through this. For once, I had to face it all. I had to really see it, really feel it, really get to grips with that energy, because I've let go of that energy, and I want to make sure I never bring anything like that back towards my journey now. So the runes I pulled out that morning was the moon and a flow of emotion. So, like I said, I already knew there was going to be an influx of emotion that day. I already started practicing in the morning again, prepping myself, not quite knowing where it was going to go. And that was day 4. I worked through an awful lot. It was, by the time I went to bed, and I will say I definitely didn't pray or meditate this evening because I was so emotionally and physically and spiritually drained. I just remember waking up the next morning laying next to Marnie, which is day 4. Now, day 4 this is the moment something had happened and I didn't even know. This is where it became otherworldly. So, all of a sudden, I was in this space where there was no ego. It was like it was detachment from identity. I started to feel like I was everything and nothing. I was seeing frequencies within everything. The silence, in this moment, the silence wasn't echoing, it wasn't hitting me like a wall. The silence at this point, imagine the nicest possible sounds you could hear, and yet you can't hear them because you're part of them. You're in it. You're in just a tranquil state. So, like, time began to erode. Everything started to feel very surreal. And it was, to start with, it was, there was feelings of fear, of not knowing, is this right? Is it really this quiet? And your voice in your head being echoed but silent, amplified but muted. It was just such a unique feeling. I honestly don't know how else to describe it other than the way I have. And like I said, the time just, it slowed. I mean, I remember looking at my clock, and parts of the day it sped up, and then, but towards the end of the day, it was the complete opposite. It was like you could look at the clock, and as the hand ticked, that single motion between each ticking second was like an eternity, just watching it slowly tick. And it was just a really nice place to be. And so what did I do? I basically faced what I needed to die within me. And in this space, I was just in a space where I believe it was where my demons once laid. I believe it was where I held my fears. I believe it was the remnants of the last bits of my past hanging on, clinging on to dear hope that I might someday want to go back that way, and it's just not going to happen. And then we go into day 5. Now, this is where I'm going to group 3 to 5 together, because it was on this day I messaged my friend and said, I'm just going into day 3. It's been interesting today. Feeling really good. So I get a text message back. Sorry, buddy, this is your 5th day. And I paused. And for that moment, I wasn't scared. I wasn't anxious. It didn't even somehow surprise me. Having lost 2 days, I'd lost them in that void. I don't know whether 2 to 5 became 1. I don't know if I skipped a day. I don't know. I cannot explain it. I don't understand it. And at the same time, I completely understand it because there was no surprise in me. And then, so I got to sit there, and it was after that I was able to sit there, and that was when I saw the beauty of the previous 2 days. That was when I started to remember the feeling, remembering what I saw. And as I sat there on day 5, just in pure gratitude, I felt lighter. Everything was more radiant. It was a shift. It was like a rebirth. It was like everything was new again, but still old, but new in a different way. I remember the physically, I felt energized. And mentally, at this point, I was in a very calm, serene place. And I had pulled, the tarot cards I pulled going into day 5 was the rebirth and the start. So that already gave me hope stepping into the day, and it was like stepping out of a storm and seeing the sun again. It really was a beautiful day, and one that I'd look back over it in great memory, because of that's the day I realised I lost 2 days, and I don't know how, I don't know where. I'm going to hand it over to you again, Gisele, and just see where, yeah, I think I've covered there. Yeah, go on.
Again, amazing. And I have several notes here. First of all, you said that you saw yourself raw, unfiltered, and I'll use the phrase ugly.
Mm. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about what that felt like. What was that like?
So where I now, after 5+ years in recovery of different programs, different steps, self-help, I live in a way where I try to help everybody. All I want to do is be grateful for what I don't have and what I do have, and then just help the next person. So with that, it takes a certain state of mind. Like you become very aware of people. You want to be a part of. You want to help. You want to. You don't want to be perfect anymore. You just want to be, right? And in that moment, imagine living like that for the last sort of, say, 3 years properly, and then going back into oneself and feeling and seeing all of the bad choices you made, all of the manipulation, all of the using, abusing, being used, abused, like not a single friendship in sight throughout my full 40 years before. And I say that not because there wasn't opportunities to have good friends or the right people around me. There was. I just shoved everybody away. And what I was left with is what I became. So when I say it was ugly, it just, I understand why people don't want to know that person, and I don't ever want to know him. So yeah, it was a hard task to do. But if you had told me I was going to go through that, I would have expected it to have hit harder and really sort of damaged my my stability, if you like. I would have never expected to have been able to face what I faced in that week. And I think I'm glad you asked what to do in preparing for this, because I think, again, I would stress to people, do it in small stages first, because I am fortunate, I'm very strong, I have a good fellowship of people around me. I did have contacts on standby. I could have rung Gisele, I could have rung my sponsor. I'm never alone. I've got a phone next to me and it's got 200 numbers in with all people in different recoveries. So I already had a safety net. So I think it's important. We emphasise they've got to be careful if anyone is thinking about going into it, because it's an interesting journey, but you will change. Yeah.
So you say that you really do have to be spiritually fit before going into
I think so.
like this. Okay.
I think so. I think, because not only that, until you're ready, until you have surrendered and you truly believe in faith, truly believe in your faith, your higher power, whatever that is, then going into something like this, I believe, I'll put it like this actually, if I was to do this before I'd gone into recovery, I wouldn't have been able to do it anyway. I wouldn't have got through 20 minutes. So until you're ready, you're not going to be able to even attempt it. So the people that are in the danger zones are those that are nearly ready. Do you know? Because if you're not ready, you go into it, you're not going to succeed. You won't even last 20 minutes. I promise you that.
Right.
And so it's the ones that have got to be careful that know they can get to 2, 3, maybe day 3. And if you get to day 3, oh, it was heaven. But again, please don't rush these things. Like, I am not, again, I want to emphasise, I'm not a teacher, I'm not an instructor, I have 0 qualifications, and I might sound really clever at times, but if it sounds clever, I've learned it from someone else, probably Gisele, and she's probably heard it somewhere else too.
You're cute. Okay, so that rolls me into my next
Yes.
not question, but bullet point, my takeaway,
Yep.
if you will. You said, I thought I moved past the regret phase. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I'd have to say I think that was my hardest part. So I'm an empath anyway, and this has come out since I've been going through my journey, and I never knew, I was always very susceptible to other people's energy. And it was, I've lost off train of thought. Sorry, what was the question?
Well, you said, I thought I'd moved, that's okay.
Yes, sorry.
Past the regret phase. Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah. So, where the empath in me, like, once you go back and I thought I dealt with it, and by that I meant I'd made my amends. I thought I'd done all of what I realised, I'd done all the external shit. I made all of that right over there. And I think in my heart of hearts, I was like, you just stay there. and it came flooding back. You can't hold it back. Once it's open, whatever you're feeling in there, it's gonna come out, and it's hard because I'm full of regrets. But because of where that comes in and the transition into day 3 to 4, and I don't know if anyone's experience is going to be the same. I don't know. I don't want to say lucky, because going into it, as much as I say now, I was a bit naive because I didn't think about this or that. I guess there's a thing, once you have faith and you have true belief in because it's the Viking in me. I believe in destiny. I believe in fate. And the way my life had played out from beginning to now is not dissimilar to how I imagined it. It may be a little bit less difficult, but where's the fun in that? Yeah, did that cover that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
But it also rolls into the next question, or the next takeaway. You said it took away the ability to run from myself.
Oh, gotcha. So by that, I still do it occasionally now. I can be on the phone to someone if I've said I've got an idea and they don't maybe respond the way I want. Then I'm like, oh, so I've got to go. It's a distraction. It's running. So because I was into that silence now, and by this point you're in, like you're pending. You're not. There's no concern for me. There was no concern from the sort of the beginning of the third day to coming out of it of me not making it to the end. I forgot what I was saying. Sorry.
It's okay. It took away the ability to run from myself.
Yeah. Sorry. And I've always been somebody that ran. And I used to get fuming at people when they used to say, why are you running again? I'm not running. I just want to go there for that job. Or I want to say, bollocks, I was running my whole life. And in that moment when those thoughts are coming, you're in the silence. You already know what you're there for. So I couldn't run, because to run meant quitting. It meant giving up. It meant allowing those doubters to win, right? So, and here's the thing, like, people always say, don't let what other people think affect you. However, I look at it slightly different, especially now. I've never known negative comments to be so positive in my life. I encourage them. Any comments, good, bad, because they all can be used if we know how to deal with that energy. So I don't know if I've gone on a tangent, but so for me, a comment is like a ball of energy, right? If I say you look beautiful today, throw it at you, you pick that ball up, you're happy, you're going to pass that same ball on with maybe more good energy than it had and pass it to someone else. It's the same with negativity. If I catch it and I hold it, fuck it, there you go. Let someone else pick it up. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I love the way you describe these things. That you also mentioned, I started to feel like I was everything and nothing.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting goosebumps straight away. That peace, that serenity, that it's a void, that's what I imagined would happen with true meditation. I always thought, how do these people really get out of themselves? It's impossible. It's bullshit. Oh my God. I can't. It's just the only way I can explain it is it just, you can see how happy it makes me, even just thinking about it. My hairs are all standing up, and you are literally, it's all I can say is you're everything and nothing, and you feel it, you hear it, it's silent, it's loud, it's noisy, but it's quiet, but it's all in harmony with each other, everything. And it was, so I remember being into day 6, we'll get to that later, but there's a point, and before I research, it says, when you feel like you want to stay where you are, you have to start transitioning back. And I sat in that, what felt like an eternity, but it wasn't too long, maybe an hour, because I was, I did listen, I did do my research, and I made sure I started coming back, but yeah, and even leaving it, it was a journey back to where we are now, but not looking back with disappointment, disheartening, sadness. If I never get to feel that again, what a magical, magical experience I have got to feel. And until somebody's done it, you're just not going to understand it. And I will never do it justice. But I hope that I've given some people some food for thought with it anyway.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, you've given me a lot to think about, trust me. Because just in the words, like the next one that I wrote down, each ticking second was like an eternity.
Ah, yeah. So I've got a cheap watch from one of the online shops we all go to, and it's got just an analog, as they call it, where it's so it just ticks round. And I just remember glancing down, and I just got mesmerised, and this tick it took forever. And then I was like, I'm going to watch the next one. And I become lost. And somewhere in all of that, time got completely warped. Now, is that because I was disorientated? Is it because I was dehydrated? Whatever, people are going to come up with all these weird and wonderful explanations for it. I know I was there. I felt it. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Now, this last one is the biggest one for me because you were talking about how you were talking about a little bit about the past and, just things in general, right? The things that we've done, the people that we've been, because we've had many different versions of ourselves, right? You
yes.
have a halo. We talk about a lot of different versions of ourselves, right?
Mm.
And you said it was like a rebirth. Everything was new in a different way. And that struck me so hard. And I know why it struck me personally, but I want to hear a little bit more about that in particular. It was like a rebirth. Everything was new in a different way. Talk to me.
Yeah, so it was upon awakening, there was a different atmosphere, a different way of waking. I didn't wake up groggy. I didn't wake up tired. I didn't wake up agitated. I didn't wake up. I'm not sure there was much of a feeling. Like, it's an interesting point you're asking me about, because I've just looked. There's not many notes of it, and it was an interesting awakening because everything was different. Marnie gave me one of her howls, which she does every now and then, which it's beautiful. It's when she's at her most excited. She did it for our friend today. She hadn't seen him since I started the silence, so she did that. So there was that, and then upon just getting up, just breathing, just everything felt different in a slightly better way, a more organic way. Like I finally feel like I'm listening to nature. I'm listening to the universe. I'm trying to tune into whatever frequency it is that I believe we're supposed to live on. And in doing so, coming out of it, I'm not going to say I don't have any fears and that I don't have any regrets and that I've slept like a baby for the 2 nights since it. Let's put it that way. Full 8-hour sleeps, which I have not had for God knows how long. So much so I had to cut our recording, our session short yesterday because I was it's amazing. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep an eye on my sleeping pattern, because if that is a new trend, who'd have thought the only thing you need to do to reset your sleeping pattern is to go into silence?
Okay. So that leads me to my first question.
Yeah.
Would you say that this afforded you an opportunity to have the kind of spiritual experience we talk about in the rooms?
Yeah, so a brilliant question actually, Gisele, because I've been very fortunate in my path through recovery with my spiritual experiences. The first huge one I had was during my step 5 in one of my 12-step programs, where you tell another all of what you worked on in step 4. And the guy I did it with, he has a chair for him, a chair for me, and then a chair for my higher power and his. So, and I remember that feeling once we got through everything, and once he had to ask me 3 times if I was hiding anything until I admitted it. Once you get all that off your chest, there was, even he felt it. Now, we did it through Zoom, and there was such a powerful feeling that washed over both of us, and it was beautiful. So I definitely would say I've had spiritual experiences. However, this was without a doubt the single most biggest, 100% unequivocally, unexplainable, undeniable spiritual experience. Even with what's been happening as I've come out of it, it isn't, that's the beauty. It hasn't been a retreat that I've left and it's gone. You know, like you might have a holiday and afterwards you feel worse than when you went on holiday. It's not like that. This gift keeps giving. The last 2 days, you know, we started collaborating together properly. We've some of the material we've worked on is just, it's just flowing naturally. The path ahead is, I'm not scared anymore. And instead of sitting here saying, I'm gonna, or waiting for the next thing to happen, you and I just went, let's do it. Let's just absolutely grab it by the horns and run with it. And did I need that spiritual experience to realize how right the time is? Yes. And how, if I don't act now, I'm going to miss it. Yeah. And who knows when the next one comes along, because he will send you another go, but he's got to wait to find out where you're sitting first. I ain't moving. He knows where I am.
I love that. That is, you're blowing me away, because in terms of the spiritual experiences that I've had in recovery, they've been hugely impactful for effective change, right? They've initiated effective change that I can't say that I will never use or drink again, but I can say that for today, I have zero desire. And I can imagine that, you know, what I'm feeling right now, that comfort, if you will, in, that today, I'm not. Today I'm staying completely clean and sober.
Yeah.
There's a beauty in that comfort, you know, that, okay, I'm safe in this space. But I can imagine that going through this process amplifies that feeling, if you will. Am I right about that?
Yeah, 100%. And this is the right opportunity for you to say that I am planning to do it again. You know, I've spoken about it with yourself, and the next time I do it, I want to do a full 7 days, nothing, just me and Marnie. Like, I can never have complete silence because of Marnie, and she's with me 24/7. She's an angel. That she was sent by my higher power, by Odin, to come and watch over me, and she does.
I love that. Yeah. That's absolutely wonderful. Okay, let's pause for a second.
So, thank you very, 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 very much, listeners. This is the first part of a 2-part episode. on the silent retreat. So I'm just going to bid you a farewell because I'm going to go straight into editing the second part so I can put them out together even though it's in 2 parts. So thank you, Daywalkers, Creatures of the Night, and everybody else in between. I was L.E.O. Lothbrook. This was The Road to Ruins, the Infinite Frequency.